Conference's Omar Abdullah has also condemned the killing. The question then is a very simple one. Nasrallah was no Mahatma Gandhi. Why eulogize a man who has the blood of countless Israelis and Americans and other foreign citizens on his hand? A man who terrorized the Middle East, even countries like Syria and Iraq. Today there are celebrations among the Sunni population of Syria and Iraq. Or are our Kashmir politicians simply doing this because it is political? Because in Kashmir, where the final phase of elections will happen tomorrow, 40 seats will be going to polls. There is a sizable Shia population as well. The mainstream Kashmir parties, the likes of Mehbooba Mufti and Omar Abdullah and their parties, they want to portray this kind of a sympathy in the hope of garnering some Shia votes, in the hope that sympathy for a dreaded terrorist like Hassan Nasrallah might influence some Shia voters in Kashmir, thousands of miles away from whatever happened in Beirut, to actually vote for these mainstream Kashmir parties. Is that why they are shedding these tears? First, the story.
इस वाकये से और भी ज्यादा ये साबित पुख्ता होगी ये बात कि वो वाकई क्रिमिनल है, जिसने फलस्तीन में हजारों बच्चे, औरतें, बुजुर्ग, नौजवानों को शहीद किया और अब लेबनान में जा रहा है। तो इसकी जितनी भी मजम्मत हो वो मुझे लगता है कम है।
महबूबा जी ने अपने सारे एंगेजमेंट्स कैंसिल किए। मैं यहाँ इसलिए आई क्योंकि लोग मेरा वेट कर रहे थे, बट हार्ट साफ है भी, हमारे दिल में बहुत दर्द है। आप जानते हैं नसरुल्लाह साहब ने जहाँ भी आज़ाब शिकस्त जुल्म हो रहा था, खास तौर से गाजा में, उनने उन लोगों के लिए लड़ा जो उनके थे भी नहीं। He wasn't even from there. So our hearts are heavy and people here should have the right to protest. अगर वो प्रोटेस्ट कर रहे हैं, आपको क्या प्रॉब्लम है?
This assassination, this killing or this sacrifice of Hassan Nasrallah symbolizes that resistance. So in solidarity with the people of Palestine and with the people of Lebanon.
जब हमारे हिंदू का ऊपर आक्रमण होते हैं, कभी महबूबा मुफ्ती अपना कार्यक्रम को कैंसिल किया था क्या? ये लोग हिंदू विरोधी है और कुछ नहीं है, उनका डीएनए ही हिंदू विरोधी है।
All right, why eulogize a man who has the blood of scores of Lebanese Christians, Sunni Muslims on his hands? Let's open this up to our guest. Professor Amitabh Mattu is Dean and Professor at the School of International Studies at the JNU. Kailash Adhikari, political analyst, will be joining us in a moment. Imran Nabi Dar is spokesperson of the National Conference, and Najmu Saqib, spokesperson of the PDP. Let me start with the two political spokespersons. Najmu Saqib, let me start with you first, because your party and your party leader suspended her campaign for a day, citing, the world-renowned that Hassan Nasrallah was. This is the litany of terrorist attacks that Hezbollah has been charged with under the leadership of Hassan Nasrallah. In August 2020, ammonium nitrate explosion at the Beirut harbor, 218 people killed, 3 lakhs left homeless, amongst them Christians, Muslims, Sunnis, Shias, you name it. In 2008, Hezbollah's opponents in Lebanon attacked by gunmen, more than 50 people dead. In 2005, and the United Nations no less investigated into this and found Hezbollah complicit in the assassination of former Prime Minister of Lebanon, Rafiq Hariri. My point is, for a person like this and for an organization like this, is it worth your leader's time and effort to be suspending her campaign for a day as though he is some kind of a martyr, as though he's some kind of a Mahatma Gandhi?
Zaka, I think what you've done is you've labeled Hassan Nasrallah as a terrorist. I would urge you to check with Government of India and Ministry of External Affairs that have they branded Hassan Nasrallah or his organization as a terrorist organization or a terrorist. Number one. Number second point. I was listening to one of the media bites from Hemant Biswa Sharma, as you just played in the opening of this. Look, we had no problem when people of our country expressed their anger and anguish when Hindus in Bangladesh were facing trouble, were facing lot of, sort of atrocities. We had no trouble in it. Why does Hemant Biswa Sharma have a problem when we express solidarity with the people of Palestine? And we are duty bound. Look, India is a country which was a conscience keeper as the founding member of the non-aligned movement. And we are duty bound. We have time and again expressed our solidarity with the people of Palestine. All we are saying right now is that if Prime Minister finds time to address the issue of Ukraine and sort of pacify both the countries, why is the government of India not taking a serious stand when a madman who's butchering the people of Palestine, decimating schools, hospitals, and not just Palestine, he's going across, breaching the sovereignty of Lebanon, attacking Syria, attacking Yemen, attacking Iraq. Whole entire Gulf is on fire, and it has ramifications for us. Remember, I expert on this. He will better enlighten that when Iran revolution happened, Afghan problem started. It engulfed all of us. It directly concerns us. As far as our party president Mehbooba Mufti and protests in Kashmir. Look, these were not just protests. These were acts of solidarity with the people of Palestine. The helplessness that we see, that we, on every day on TV and social media, we see.
Once again, Najmul Saqib, I want to sort of clarify this for our viewers who may get confused. The sequence of events was that on Friday night or Friday evening, there was speculation about the death of Hassan Nasrallah. On Saturday morning, both the Americans and the Israelis confirmed that in that airstrike that happened on Friday, it was Hassan Nasrallah and the bunker headquarters of the Hezbollah that was targeted. There were 80 cluster bombs that were dumped on that, and then Nasrallah was one of the people who died. That was confirmed on Saturday, and your leader suspended her campaign. Nobody would have had a problem had she suspended her campaign for the 40,000 people who died in Gaza, the women and children included there. But that's not why she suspended her campaign. She suspended her campaign for a man, and since you brought this up, in 1997, the United States, Israel, and some NATO allies designated Hezbollah as a foreign terrorist organization and Hassan Nasrallah as a specially designated global terrorist, since you brought this up. So it is for this man that your leader suspended her campaign.
Zaka, we're living in India. Last I checked, we're not a member of NATO. Nor are we United States of America. Our country has not labeled Hezbollah or Hassan Nasrallah as a terrorist or as a terrorist organization. So let's talk in the framework of our country. We have nothing to do with NATO. Their wars are their own. They can fight their wars wherever they want. One. Number two. So look, the protests in Kashmir were not just protests. They were solidarity with the people of Palestine and those who are standing up for the people of Palestine. Because we cannot be innocent bystanders when innocent people are being butchered, and I expect our countries to stand up as we have rightly done in the case of Ukraine. But why are not in the case of in the case of Palestine? Number one. Number second, I have a couple of points. Look, Professor Mattu is here. He is from the Kashmiri Pandit community. They have faced displacement. They have faced their members of that particular community were killed, maimed. They had to leave their own homeland, and I am one of those votaries who advocates for the return of Kashmiri Pandits, honorable return of Kashmiri Pandits. If I speak for the return of Kashmiri Pandits in Jammu and Kashmir, why don't we as a country speak for the return of Palestinians who are displaced across Middle East in their homeland?
Okay.
When they were
so let me before I go to Professor Mattu, I also want to get an Imran Nabi Dar of the National Conference. The problem in this balancing act that the mainstream Kashmir parties, and when I say mainstream, I mean the PDP and the National Conference, because Omar Abdullah has also come out and condemned the killing of Hassan Nasrallah, is how do you, on the one hand, reconcile the fact that here is a person who is accused of killing tens of hundreds, if not thousands, of innocent civilians. And not just Israelis, by the way. It's not just the Jews that he killed. He killed Christians in Lebanon. He's killed Sunnis in Iraq and in Syria. Today there are large sections in Syria and Iraq who are celebrating the death of Hassan Nasrallah. And like I said before, no less than the United Nations sent a special investigation team, and their findings implicated Hezbollah as well as its then leader Hassan Nasrallah in the killing of the then Prime Minister of Lebanon, Rafiq Hariri. This is the man that you're eulogizing, Imran Nabi Dar. This is the man that Umar Abdullah said should not have been killed in an Israeli airstrike. How do you reconcile this?
I don't understand why you are profiling communities, why you are profiling sects here, why you are saying that he has killed Sunni Muslims. What are you trying to infer?
That he's killed people.
What is the
No, one second.
message?
I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is. What I'm trying to say is. One second. There is this familiar. There is this. No. Since you asked me, you have to give me a right to respond. Mr. Dar. 1 second, please. Since you asked, the reason I underlined that was because there is this familiar argument, this familiar trope that is set out. Oh, Nasrallah was. No. 1 second. Nasrallah was only attacking the Jewish state and the Jewish state which is attacking Muslims disproportionately and so on. That is not the case. As many Muslims have suffered at the hands of Nasrallah as have perhaps Jews. That's the point I'm underlining. Go ahead now.
Just a second, can I borrow your time?
No, Mr. Dar. Mr. Dar's time, yeah.
What you are saying, this is a perfect textbook that we normally find in WhatsApp universities of our country.
Are you saying he did not kill Christians in Lebanon? He did not kill Muslims in Syria and in Iraq? Are you saying those are factually incorrect?
I am no one to
just a moment of your time.
What I'm
Mr.
saying
Dar.
is that I have a problem with your profiling. I do not accept. I think this is very unfair when you profile sects. When you say that this is a Shia sect, this is a Sunni sect.
Are you saying that such things did not happen? Are you saying these are factually incorrect? No. Are you saying that Syrians and Iraqis were not killed by Hezbollah?
What you are trying to say is you are trying to play to the galleries of all those people, the RSS mindset.
As opposed to Miss Mufti and Mr. Abdullah, who are not playing to the galleries.
No, we are not playing to the galleries.
Then what are you doing?
46,000 civilians have been butchered in Palestine. Israeli Prime Minister is responsible for killing of 46,000 civilians in Palestine.
So the campaign for Jammu and Kashmir elections has been on. No, 1 second, hear me out. Campaign for the Jammu and Kashmir elections has been on since middle of August. How many days have you suspended your campaign for the 46,000 people who died in Palestine? Please tell me. Mr. Dar, how many days have you, the National Conference, suspended your campaign for the death of innocents in Gaza? Tell me one day. Tell me one day, one period of 24 hours where you have suspended your campaign.
Listen to me.
No, I'm asking you a question. Answer the question. Have you suspended your campaign in Kashmir for the killing of civilians in Gaza? Have you?
Laka, can you give me a moment?
No, 1 second, Najmu. I've got two other guests also.
Never suspended. We didn't suspend our campaign
yes.
as far as National Conference is concerned.
Yes.
Umar Saab went the next day and he addressed all the rallies. Let me clear you, we never suspended any of our political rallies. Umar Saab went next day in Baramulla, he went to Karna, he went to other one more place.
So that is exactly what I'm saying. That if you did not find reason enough to suspend your campaign for the 46,000 people, as you said, who died in Gaza, then for one man, one globally designated terrorist, is worth enough for you to suspend your campaign.
What Israel is
you should be ashamed of that. You should be ashamed of the fact that for 40,000 civilians you didn't want to suspend your campaign, but for one globally designated terrorist, everyone is willing to shed tears and issue statements of condemnation and suspend their campaigns. His one life must be more valuable than the 40,000 civilians.
Let me go to
Professor Mattu, please. Let me go to Professor Mattu. Professor Mattu, I asked this question at the top of the program, and again, I don't want to be cynically political about this, but fact is that tomorrow is the third and final phase of elections in Jammu and Kashmir. I think 16 seats, particularly the ones in North Kashmir, are voting tomorrow. There is a sizable Shia population, as I understand, and scattered across different parts of Kashmir. Is the reason why Mehbooba Mufti is shedding these tears, suspending her campaign, or Omar Abdullah is condemning the killing of Hassan Nasrallah, thousands of miles away in Beirut, is that with an eye on the Shia vote? Because I don't understand why in the middle of the heat and dust of an election campaign, the death of a man 2,000 miles away is going to impact the life of an ordinary Kashmiri, or is going to change the course of an election where I would assume that local issues and local concerns and bread and butter issues and livelihood issues are the ones that should matter most, not somebody sitting 2,000 miles away.
Zaka, I think you need to put this in a global and a historical context. There's not a place in the world today, no university campus in the world today, which has insulated itself from what is happening in Gaza, in Palestine, in Israel, and indeed the whole of the Middle East or West Asia. And there is a Manichaean divide. Campuses across the world, in New York, in Colombia, all over the world, there is a divide between those who empathize with the great civilian tragedy that has happened in Gaza, those who obviously are great supporters of Israel, and some of those who are great supporters of Benjamin Netanyahu. Much that we would like elections to be carried out on the basis of local elections, that's never the case. In the Jammu and Kashmir that I know, and in the Jammu and Kashmir that I grew up, Palestine has always been a deeply emotive issue. I was born in the 60s, and whether it was the Yom Kippur War or incidents after that, they evoked a deep sense of outrage within the population, irrespective of the Shia-Sunni divide. And that's a fact. Now, I think what Mehbooba Mufti or Omar Abdullah or Sajjad Lone or any of the parties is responding to a sentiment. To imagine that they're actually creating this sentiment would be to belittle the widespread sense of outrage. Now, whether that's justified is probably for historians, analysts to decide whether people should react in the manner in which they do to the killing of Said Hassan Nasrallah or not is a different issue. The fact is there is a great, huge popular empathy and a deep sense of outrage at his killing. Now, as I said, the reason why they have stopped this campaign, in an ideal world, no campaign should be stopped, is because they think that this will only alienate and disconnect them from the popular sentiment. They're politicians, they're political leaders, they're fighting elections. How can they separate themselves from what people on the street are thinking of? Okay. What you need to find out is why this is happening. And secondly, remember, the Palestinian issue is one issue on which India, traditionally speaking, of course, has supported the Palestinian cause, but even today walks a difficult tightrope. Yeah. Its relations with Iran, its relations with many of the actors within the Middle East are at a fine point where its close relations with Israel could easily tilt the balance in favor of Israel and disconnect it from vital interests in the Middle East, including the fact that there is a huge Indian diaspora living there. So that's why you haven't had an instant reaction. That's why, despite the fact that the External Affairs Minister, Dr. Jaishankar, is in New York in the UN General Assembly, there hasn't been a knee-jerk reaction, and India is trying to find that balance. For a long time, the balance was in favor of the Palestinian cause, that we did not normalize relations with Israel until the 90s, and I think that was a wrong step as well. But now that you have normalized relations, I think there is a certain sense of belief, as one of the speakers pointed out, that India, while it safeguards its realpolitik, its national interests driven by the bilateral coalition or coalescing of interests with Israel, it must not abandon the moral part of that dimension.
Professor, just give me a moment. I'm sorry I'm interrupting, but we're getting pieces of a breaking news, which is a phone conversation between Prime Minister Modi and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. This is the first conversation that they've had since the killing of Hassan Nasrallah on Friday, the leader of Hezbollah. Prime Minister Modi has underlined the need to prevent any kind of wider regional escalation. That, of course, is the worry of all countries, both within the region and beyond, whether it's the United States, whether it's India. No one wants a wider regional war. The Prime Minister has also said that there is simply no place for terrorism in any civilized society. At the same time, he's also expressed concern about the safe release of the remaining hostages who are in the custody of Hamas. There are about 100 plus Israeli hostages who are still in Hamas custody. Prime Minister Modi underlining that terror has no place in a civilized society, and at the same time, it is crucial to ensure that there is no regional wider war or any kind of escalation, and that India is for the early restoration of peace. How may that restoration happen? What is the off-ramp here? Will Israel climb down? Will Hezbollah not be able to retaliate in the manner in which people expect them to, now that their leadership, it's not just Nasrallah, a large number of their top leadership have been eliminated in the last 2 weeks or so. So clearly, there are a lot of unanswered questions here. And let me go back to Kailash Adhikari.
One line.
Yeah, Kailash. Yeah, sorry.
Sorry,
Yes.
Zaka, I just wanted to say this, that I think Prime Minister Modi, who shares an extremely close personal relationship with Benjamin Netanyahu,
Yeah.
in his statement has clearly underlined the dilemmas that Indian policy is facing. That while you have this close relationship, you recognize that at this time, this action against the Hezbollah could potentially destabilize not just Lebanon, but the fragile stability that exists outside the Gaza Strip. And if that is destroyed, this is a global crisis in the making. So India has, in fact, even during the last few months, if you remember it, Prime Minister Modi said just before the elections that during Ramadan, he had sent NSA Doval to try and impress upon Netanyahu to have a Ramadan ceasefire, to be able to assist the huge humanitarian tragedy taking place in Gaza. What I'm saying is, I think on this issue particularly, Zaka, you as someone who understands international relations, but everyone else must take a much more nuanced view rather than react in terms of black and white terms, in terms of react or furthering or aggravating the sense of Manichaean policies that we are witnessing all over the Middle East.
So let me ask Kailash Adhikari as well. So, the tensions in the region ratcheted up with the 7th October terrorist strikes by Hamas. It was widespread. It targeted Israeli civilians. 1,200 Israeli civilians were killed just in that 24-hour period, after which, of course, Israel started the bombing campaign in Gaza, in which more than 40,000 Palestinians, a large number of them women and children, have died. But the reason why there seems to be some sense of, I don't want to say anger, but certainly concern by the statements made by mainstream Kashmiri politicians at the death of a globally designated terrorist. And way back in 1997, the United States declared him a globally designated terrorist, and the organization was called a foreign terrorist organization, is that it disregards the loss of civilian lives, whether it is Israeli lives or whether it is Palestinian lives, because at the end of the day, and I keep stressing this over and over again, it's not like Nasrallah was just targeting the Israelis. Hassan Nasrallah was responsible for the death of scores of Syrians, scores of Iraqis, and his own countrymen and women in Lebanon. Kailash.
Absolutely. Zaka, as Honorable Prime Minister also tweeted this time, and also when it was the Russia-Ukraine war, when that particular war started, and that is which was like the epicenter of global crisis. And unfortunately, it has been carrying on with the Hamas provoking Israel, then Israel, Gaza, and currently what we are seeing. India has always maintained a stand that there is no place of terrorism in this world, and terror has no place. Any kind of such kind of activity should see a de-escalation, and India and Honorable Prime Minister has always maintained that stand. Now, coming to this particular point of the two regional parties of Kashmir, or the mainstream parties of Kashmir, as you addressed to them in the beginning, is about cancelling their rally of towards the elections of Jammu and Kashmir for a person who was killed on foreign soil, who has been designated as a global terrorist. Somewhere it leads to the fact that they have not come out of any kind of appeasement. The entire crux of the matter lies there, Zaka. When we saw the civil unrest happen in Bangladesh some time ago, and where the Indian Prime Minister as well as India as an External Affairs Ministry, we expressed also deep concern of the safety of the Hindus there. No one of them came up, you know. And here we are seeing politicians in Kashmir just an eve before the final phase of voting, cancelling a rally in solidarity under the realm that this will help them gain votes. Now this is another lower level of stooping that one can get. Are you so sure that such kind of appeasement will work in New India? And this is time and again that they are doing without understanding the fact that there is no place of appeasement here. You know, we are talking about a global situation, and in order to just coax their vote bank, they are crossing a fine line in which they don't understand that they can also step to the other side of being an anti-national.
Najmul Saqib, again, the 2 points. One that Kailash made about how come Mehbooba Mufti, your leader, or even Omar Abdullah did not tweet or condemn the killings of Hindus in Bangladesh as recently as a few weeks ago when Sheikh Hasina was ousted from power. By the most conservative estimates, over 1,000 Hindus have died in that 4 or 5 week period since. But more importantly, the question that's being asked again and again is why are there these sympathies for someone who lived by the gun, who killed scores of people, including Muslims in Lebanon, in Syria, in Iraq? What is this solidarity that you're showing with someone who, like I said, he was not waving the white flag at the world. He was not some global statesman. He was not a Mahatma Gandhi.
Zaka, I would urge you and every analyst here or on the panel, as well as my fellow colleagues, for political gains, please don't wreck the foreign relations. Look where we are with Bangladesh today, where we are with Sri Lanka today. You know, if you keep on throwing these countries under the bus, you will have foreign policy repercussions. Having said that, look, Hezbollah is a byproduct of a civil war. Lebanon was under occupation. There were Falangist Christians who were there was a Christian. Then there was a Sunni militia. Then there was a Shia militia. There was a civil war ongoing in Lebanon, and Hezbollah is a byproduct of that. So everyone killed everyone. It's not like that. You know, Christians didn't get Muslims. Christians didn't get Sunnis and Shias. Everyone. There was a civil war ongoing there. For God's sake, everything doesn't happen in a vacuum. Things happen because of certain reason. Number one. Number second point, you talked about hostages. Look, why, for God's sake, for years and years altogether, we haven't spoken about Palestinians being deprived of their lands, their settlements that Israel is building there, their daughters, wives are being raped. There are thousands and thousands of years without any recourse to court of law. And when every single institution in the world has recommended a two-state solution for the people of Palestine, why are Palestinians living in an open-air jail? Why are they being deprived of their political rights? Why is everything? So all we are saying, as far as Bangladesh is concerned, look, government of India spoke for them, and we are happy government of India spoke for them. All we want is that government of India should be more vocal, because under pressure, under American pressure, we spoke about Ukraine. But why not speak about the issues in Palestine?
No, but just now, Najmul Saqib, just in the course of the last few minutes, I just broke that story for our viewers, and I'm sure you heard me as well, that the Prime Minister spoke to his Israeli counterpart, and he has said the priority is restoration of peace as quickly as possible. And he's also underlined that, which is a concern for everybody concerned, that we don't want any wider escalation, regional conflict.
And I'm happy. I think government of India should walk the talk and ban all the artillery shells that we are supplying to Israel, all the weaponry that we are supplying to Israel. I think we should stop it, because there's a madman out there who wants to, engulf the entire region in the flames of war.
No. That story that you're referring to has no official.
Give me a moment.
That story about weapons going to Israel, India-made weapons going to Israel, is not based in fact.
I think
that's been denied by the government.
Give me a moment. Hear me out, and then you can rebut whatever you want. So my point is, we are a billion-plus country. We are a country aspiring for global power. We have a conscience, a country which has been the freedom and democracy in the world. We are the world's largest democracy. Okay. I think it behooves us to play a very pivotal role, because God forbid if this thing escalates and entire Middle East is engulfed in the war, I think it will have serious ramifications for not just India,
Imran Nabidar, the other thing that is so stark and that stands out is that countries that are spokespersons of the wider Middle East, who are supposedly the custodians of the wider Middle East, countries like Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Oman, Gulf Cooperation Council, OIC, these countries have officially not come out and issued any statement condemning specifically the killing of Hassan Nasrallah. Neither have they declared any public holiday in response to his death. The reactions from these countries have been relatively muted compared to other regional players. And most importantly, yes, they have come out and condemned the Israeli airstrikes and Israeli targeting of civilians in Lebanon, but neither the statement from Saudi Arabia nor the statement from UAE specifically condemns the death or the killing of Hassan Nasrallah. If Saudi Arabia, UAE and these so-called custodians of the Gulf region don't have anything to say about the death of this dreaded terrorist, then why should people like Mr. Omar Abdullah and Ms. Mufti eulogize this man?
See, first of all, we don't derive our sanctity, we don't derive our actions from these Arab countries. I mean, they have their own policies. We believe that if we find there is something wrong is happening anywhere, we will protest about it. We will talk about it, and we will express our concern about it. I mean, that doesn't mean that we agree to what Lebanon or what Hezbollah has been doing. But what we have been clear about is that we want government of India to put pressure on US, on the entire NATO, on European countries to stop Israel from bombarding these countries. We are clear about it. We are very clear about it. We want government of India, we want Prime Minister Narendra Modi to step ahead and stop these genocidal, the genocidal maniac who's running across Middle East. We want
okay. I just want to underline. I'm running out of time. We're approaching the half hour. In fact, we've hit the half hour. So I'm going to wrap up this segment. You know, to my mind, and I know it's not necessarily a very nuanced take here, but the tears that are being shed for a man like Hassan Nasrallah are akin to those quarters who shed tears for the killing of an Osama bin Laden. I don't think anyone in his right mind would have shed tears for an Osama bin Laden, much like they shouldn't be for Hassan Nasrallah. But this is a pivotal moment in this evolving story between Israel and Hamas, and certainly between Israel and Hezbollah. Now the question is twofold. One, how is Hezbollah going to respond? Because they have to not just respond, but be seen to be responding. Do they have the capabilities? Do they have the leadership? Do they have the ability to come together to take on Israel, or at least seen to be responding to Israel? What about Iran? Because at the end of the day, these are proxy groups. Use these proxies and use them as the fronts to take on Israel. In any case, like I said, the Middle East is at an inflection point. If all parties involved do not find an off-ramp or a way to try and calm down the rhetoric, calm down the bombardment, then this would easily slip into a wider regional conflict, one that no one wants, neither Israel, nor Iran, nor America, nor India. Here's a deep dive into what is at stake after the killing of Hassan Nasrallah in an airstrike by Israel. For more than 3 decades, he was the face and brains of Hezbollah. Hassan Nasrallah, the leader of the terror outfit Hezbollah, was killed on Friday in heavy airstrikes at his outfit's underground headquarters in Beirut. For over 3 decades, he served as a charismatic, unifying figure for the terror group. His personality and his fiery speeches convinced his followers of the righteousness of their cause, their anti-Israel struggle, and he was constantly reassuring them that victory within reach. And now he's gone, bombed to death by over 80 cluster bombs, inflicting a 60 feet deep crater at the place where his headquarters once stood. It is so deep a blow to Hezbollah, it raises crucial questions about how and whether the terror group can remain relevant at all beyond the death of Nasrallah. Israel has long considered Nasrallah not just a terrorist, but also a wily figure behind one of its most pressing national security threats. Israeli officials have described their swift escalation against Hezbollah, which culminated in the killing of Hassan Nasrallah, as a type of shock and awe campaign. The aim of the campaign was to get it done so fast and so dramatically that Israel would not need to send in ground troops across its northern border. In fact, the objective was to try and resettle about 60,000 of the northern populations who had forced to be moved out of their homes since the war against Hamas began about a year ago. With Nasrallah now gone, there is no other Hezbollah leader who can take his place, who even comes close to him in terms of stature and experience. The one who comes perhaps closest is his cousin and member of the Shura Council, Hashim Safieddine. But whoever its next leader may be, counting out Hezbollah could be a serious mistake. And you don't have to look any further than Gaza, where Israel has fought for the last 11 months to try and break Hamas. Hamas, of course, is much less of a sophisticated adversary, without achieving a decisive victory so far, and a tremendously high cost when it comes to human lives. Hamas's extensive web of tunnels has bedeviled Israeli forces. Hezbollah has got its own networks. In fact, Hamas learned what it knows about tunnels from Hezbollah. One Israeli official, in fact, called Hezbollah Hamas's big brother. Israel has attacked Hezbollah's tunnel network with artillery strikes, but has managed to do little damage. Any larger effort would require heavier and more destructive bombs, likely followed by a ground campaign to clear fighters and weapons launching sites. But that is going to be an expensive business, it's going to be long drawn out, and could lead to Israeli casualties as well. Before the war in Gaza began last October, the Iran-backed Hezbollah began attacking northern Israel in solidarity with its ally Hamas. Hezbollah was believed to be one of the best equipped non-state military forces in the world. The group had tens of thousands of fighters. It had a weapons arsenal of more than 100,000 rockets and missiles. That's not all. They also have more sophisticated armaments, including drones, precision-guided missiles, and anti-aircraft weapons. But the group's response so far to the last 2 weeks of Israel's attacks have fallen far short of what both Israel feared and also what Hezbollah claimed it was capable of. Hezbollah commandos have not rampaged through Israeli cities and communities. Their guided missiles have not damaged sensitive infrastructure. In addition to regular rocket barrages, the group has fired larger ballistic missiles that can reach deep within Israeli territory, but so far they've caused little damage. Many of these ballistic missiles have been curtailed or intercepted and brought down by Israel's own air defense systems. Hezbollah does not disclose its military capacities. It has not announced how many of its fighters have been killed in the last couple of weeks. The health ministry in Lebanon says over 1,000 Lebanese have died, but they don't distinguish between civilians and Hezbollah fighters. Hassan Nasrallah took charge of Hezbollah when it was an underground guerrilla force fighting the Israeli occupation of southern Lebanon. That occupation ended in the year 2000. The United States designated Hezbollah a terrorist organization in 1997. Nasrallah led the organization as it formally entered Lebanese politics. It won seats in the parliament. It joined governing coalitions. In fact, he led the fight against Israel to a standstill in what was a hugely destructive war back in 2006. He also expanded Hezbollah into other countries. Hezbollah played a role in the Syrian civil war. It also trained allied militants in Iraq and in Yemen. He also had close relationships with the top leaders of Hamas, as well as other regional terror groups, and most importantly, he had deep linkages with Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, Iran's supreme leader. Many in Lebanon have speculated that Hezbollah's next leader after Nasrallah could be Hashim Safieddine. He is a cousin of Nasrallah who appears to have survived Israel's recent targeted killings. Nasrallah's deputy, Sheikh Naim Qasim, also appears to be alive, even though there is speculation around him being killed. Now, the other big question is whether Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu of Israel will decide to go after Hezbollah's strategic arsenal. It's got a repository of ballistic missiles, many of them believed to be deeply buried inside the mountains of Lebanon. The challenge is that the civilian harm that this could inflict could far outstrip the kind of devastation that we've seen in Gaza already. American officials say the next moves by Hezbollah and by Iran are far from certain. But the strike against Nasrallah is likely to prod the militant group to take more aggressive action than the limited strikes it has conducted so far into Israeli territory. Hezbollah has been preparing for its next major war with Israel since the last one ended in 2006. It is believed to be able to fire hundreds of rockets simultaneously at Israeli cities like Tel Aviv and Haifa, overwhelming Israel's air defense systems. But right now, Hezbollah's ability and its leadership to try and do exactly that looks like either a pipe dream or more like an exaggerated threat. All right, I want to go back to our top story about Israel taking out Hassan Nasrallah, the Hezbollah chief, in an airstrike. 80 cluster bombs used to take out a man who has tormented not just Israel, but also neighboring countries like Syria and Iraq. I want to go across to Ms. Orli Weitzman. She's the Consul General of Israel to southern India. Thank you very much, Ms. Weitzman, for speaking with us here on CNN News 18. So both Iran, who are the puppeteers of Hezbollah, and Hezbollah itself have reacted to the airstrike, killing Hassan Nasrallah, and said that they have vowed revenge against Israel. How would you and the government of Israel respond to this?
Good evening. Thank you very much for having me here this evening. I think that Israel has shown that it's willing to do anything needed in order to protect its citizens. So it's very unfortunate if Hezbollah and Iran decide to do anything that might jeopardize the safety of Israelis and the safety of Israel, because Israel will always do whatever it takes in order to ensure the safety of civilians in Israel. And that they think they should think about that and think about the implications of what they're saying, and hopefully they will realize that the best way to end this situation is to put down the arms and to implement Resolution 1701, which basically disarms Hezbollah and pushes it further north for the Litani, so that both Israelis and Lebanese citizens who are also very much affected by this horrible terrorist group can live in peace.
But Ms. Weitzman, they aren't doing anything but that. They are continuing the barrage of rockets, missiles, some even ballistic missiles have been fired into Israel. Of course, a lot of them have been intercepted by Israel's air defense systems. This whole plan of resettling about 60,000 of the northern populations in Israel, how is that going to happen? Because the barrage of rocket fire and missiles is not stopped, despite the killing of Hassan Nasrallah.
So I think we saw the beginning of that, and I think that's the main explanation to what we've been seeing in the past few days and the activity that Israel has in the north. Israel, like I said, it has the most an interest or duty even to make sure that its citizens live safely and that people can go home. It's been almost a year now that people have had to leave their homes. I don't know if you can imagine, or if the viewers can imagine what it's like to suddenly leave your house, all your belongings, and go for a period of who knows how long to leave your house without being able to return. This is something that's insufferable. Again, Israel is doing what it needs to do and will keep doing what it needs to do. So if there's no diplomatic solution, as Israel would like to have, then there will be other solutions to make sure that the Israelis can return to their homes, that they can live safely.
And that is one of the concerns, isn't it? That, including your good friends in the United States, some folks here in India are saying that this is perhaps at the very precipice of a wider regional war. There is a real fear that Israel will not be able to achieve its objective, which is to resettle the northern population without a ground invasion. How would you speak to that fear?
I think that we have to see what will come ahead. And know that Israel is prepared to do whatever it takes. I mean, it's something that we'll have to see in the coming days. And I really pray that these terrorist groups and the proxies of Iran and this terrorist country of Iran will come to their senses and realize that whatever if they don't let Israeli live in peace, then Israel will have to do what it takes. And I'm really hoping that they will come to their senses in that matter.
Well, what about a direct confrontation with Iran? Because the stakes have now been raised by Israel with the killing of Hassan Nasrallah. Do you think a direct confrontation between Tehran and Tel Aviv, the region or the rest of the world, would be able to deal with the consequences of that?
So Israel is prepared for whatever happens. Israel, I feel like I keep trying to make the same message. Israel does not want to have doesn't want escalation and would really like for things to settle down. But if Israel is attacked by Iran or any of its proxies, it will have to make sure, again, do whatever it can to make sure that peace is maintained. And I think Israel has already shown its capabilities. Iran already attacked Israel in April, if you remember, and Israel retaliated in a very minor way just to show the capabilities of what Israel is capable of. And I think Iran received the message, and I hope Iran received the message, because the capabilities, Israel capabilities are very strong, and Israel will do whatever is necessary to make sure that its civilians are safe.
Ms. Weitzman, what is the end game here? Because you have this war with Hamas, which is approaching its first year now. It's going to be 1 year on October 7th next week. You have now a new front that's been opened with Hezbollah in the north. Yes, Hassan Nasrallah is dead, but the infrastructure, the weaponry of Hezbollah as a terrorist outfit continues very much intact. So you have that second front open. The hostages, over 100 of them, are still in the custody of Hamas. How is Israel going to end all of this?
So Israel, again, this is not something that Israel started. 7th of October was thrust upon us, and it was one of the most horrible things Israel has seen since the Holocaust, basically, and since its existence. So it was something that Israel did not choose. And since a day later, the 8th of October, it's being attacked by the Hezbollah in the north and by Houthis. So none of this was Israel's choice at any time. So I think the main question is, when will the region accept, when will Iran accept, when will the Hezbollah accept Israel's right to exist and to live peacefully?
Presented by
Ambulances were seen rushing through streets in southern Lebanon on Sunday, as Israel pressed Hezbollah with more strikes after killing the Iran-backed group's leader Syed Hassan Nasrallah in an escalating military campaign. Israel's attacks have dealt a stunning succession of blows to Hezbollah after almost a year of cross-border fire, killing much of its leadership and revealing gaping security holes. Also Sunday, video posted to social media showed a large fireball and smoke plume above the port city of Hodeidah in Yemen. Israel said it hit targets there in response to missile attacks by the Iran-backed Houthis on Israel in recent days. Defense Minister Yoav Gallant said, quote, "Our message is clear. For us, no place is too far. White House National Security spokesperson John Kirby said all-out war with Hezbollah or Iran would not help residents of northern Israel return to their homes. He said diplomacy remains the right path. In Iran, which helped create Hezbollah in the early 1980s, senior figures mourn the death of Nasrallah. The country's interior minister said such assassinations, blind and covert assassinations, will have no result for the survival of this regime. Nasrallah's body was recovered intact from the site of Friday's strike, a medical source and a security source told Reuters on Sunday. Hezbollah has not yet said when his funeral will be held.
Are you going to talk to Prime Minister Netanyahu? You haven't had anything to say to him?
Yes, I will be talking to him, and I'll tell you what I say to him when I talk to him.
Yes, sir. Can an all-out war in the Middle East be avoided?
It has to be. We really have to avoid it. We've already taken precautions relative to our embassies and personnel who want to leave, but we're not there yet, but we're working like hell with the French and many others.
So what may be Hezbollah's next set of actions? Can it retaliate either directly or through proxies, avenge the death of its leader Hassan Nasrallah? How may Iran react? Ayatollah Ali Khamenei has gone into a secret location. Iran is stuck between a rock and a hard place. It has to be seen as responding and avenging Nasrallah's death, but at the same time cannot get into a direct conflict with Israel. To try and answer all of these questions, I'm now joined by a very respected Israeli scholar, a scholar of Middle East studies, Dr. Emal Zizah is now joining us. Thank you very much, Dr. Zizah, for speaking with us here on CNN News 18. First of all, could you please put into context for our viewers the killing of Hassan Nasrallah, the man who was leading the terrorist outfit Hezbollah for the last 30 years? What does this mean in the context of the last 30 years fight between Israel and Hezbollah? What does this mean for the evolving situation in the Middle East? We already have the ongoing war in Gaza that's already approaching its first year next week. And now this new front has opened this fight against Hezbollah and the killing of the leader of Hezbollah, Hassan Nasrallah. Just how big a deal is this?
Well, there is the bigger picture. For years, for almost 20, 30 years, Iran built two arms to surround Israel, Hamas to the north, to the south, and Hezbollah to the north, equipped them with advanced weapons. There are few armies around the world that used to have such massive and impressive arsenal of missiles like Hezbollah had, 150 to 180,000 rockets and missiles. Well, this was the basic picture. There were from time to time rounds of violence, but then in October 2023, Hamas attacked Israel, carried out a murderous attack, killing almost 1,200 Israeli civilians. A day later, Hezbollah joined the war. Now, while he tried to keep the level of the fire in the northern border of Israel low, he chose to play with fire. He opened a front with Israel, attacked Israeli settlements with rockets and missiles, and forced Israel to evacuate almost 60,000 of the residents of these settlements. So we were in an ongoing war that escalates slowly. And I think that there was a point where Israel said to itself, enough is enough. And after the war in Gaza is approaching its end for any practical purpose, Israel turned its attention to the north and decided to answer fire with fire and try to change the reality, which is unacceptable for Israel. And almost 60,000 Israelis are far away from their homes, constant attacks on a daily basis from Lebanon, and Israel said, enough is enough.
So I do want to ask you, though, how will Hezbollah and actually its masters, the puppeteers, the people who control Hezbollah, Iran, how will they now choose to respond? Do you reckon that Iran will have to draw itself into a direct conflict with Israel, given the scale and the gravity of the hit against Nasrallah, which has killed him? Or will it continue to exercise its response through its proxies, whether it is Hezbollah, the Houthis in Yemen, or even Hamas in Gaza?
Well, one of the surprising things is that people tend to think Hezbollah is almighty, and he might respond with, hundreds, thousands of rockets to the center of Israel on a daily basis. But it proven to be much weaker. It's still fighting, but it was proven to be much weaker than Israel tend to think, that everybody tended to think. Also, very direct attacks on ammunition and weapons and missiles destroy much of what it had. So he left alone with little to do. He can fire from time to time, something he did, rockets to Israel, but the Israeli air defense systems are very efficient. Just to give you an example, since the escalation 2 weeks ago, hundreds of Hezbollah warriors were killed, including Nasrallah, and many targets were attacked, and no Israeli was killed during these last 2 weeks. And I think that also Iran, what Iran can do, it has no air force. It is afraid of the Israeli response, and it's deterred also by the United States. It used to have Hezbollah and Hamas, but now it's not effective as it was. It can't send ground force, it's far away. So Iran was left with not many options as they tended to think. They tried to fire on April 500 missiles and drones against Israel. None of them reached Israel. They were all intercepted. So I think that they might respond, they can carry out terrorist attacks, but okay, we'll have to wait and see.
Also, I do want to get a quick question on domestically, politically in Israel, particularly for Prime Minister Netanyahu, who's of course seen or overseen the killing of Nasrallah, the killing of Ismail Haniyeh. He was embattled for some time, particularly from the families of hostages who, of course, see him as not being able to get their loved ones back. But at the same time, with all of these killings of senior figures, whether it's in Hezbollah, whether it's in Hamas, does his political position strengthen a little more? He's also apparently got in one of his political rivals, I believe, as part of the ministry, not overseeing any particular portfolio, but is now part of the ruling coalition. Does that strengthen his position politically?
Well, it's not only the killing of Nasrallah. Netanyahu stated in the UN General Assembly, we are winning. And this is the impression that Israel had a terrible year, but now things have changed. The reality on the ground have changed. Hamas is finished. Hezbollah is not the enemy we thought he was, and his power is diminishing on a daily basis. So I think it will help Netanyahu to increase its popularity and might enable him to survive at least till the coming election.
All right, Dr. Zizzer, thank you so much for speaking with us here on CNN News 18. Thank you.
Viewers, Hassan Nasrallah was a coward, a genocidal maniac who wallowed in the trough of the basest human emotions. It was only fitting that this purveyor of the unconscionable finally met his end, hiding like a quivering sewer rat in a dank burrow hundreds of feet under residential buildings in central Beirut. The Hezbollah had deliberately located its headquarters under dwellings in this crowded part of the city, hoping that the fear of killing innocent civilians above ground would prove to be a sufficient enough deterrent for pursuers. Clearly, Israel was willing to bet on the precision of its firepower to smoke out the Hezbollah without causing too much collateral damage. And when one considers that Israel has had almost a year of practice in Gaza with Hamas similarly sequestered in tunnels, Tel Aviv was right to back itself and its instincts. Hezbollah's big chief was toast before he could say J-Dam. The Israel-fired and American-made bunker busters bore through the civilian citadel above before vaporizing their quarry underground. Iran, Hezbollah's patron, was the first to feel the aftershocks as they rippled through West Asia before buffeting India's Islamized Kashmir Valley. Here, thousands hit the streets, and not just viewers in Srinagar, but also in Lucknow. Politicians pulled out of ongoing electioneering, and even members of parliament, can you believe it, viewers, took to condemning, quote, terror state Israel, unquote. Let me run you through some of these reactions, viewers. First is Aga Rahula, who is the MP, no less, viewers, member of parliament of the National Conference. He says, just like Ismail Haniyeh, Hassan Nasrallah was a great leader and a spirit of resistance. He has been martyred today. We have suffered a huge loss. The Muslim Ummah, if you please, is grieving his death, unquote. Mehbooba Mufti, PDP chief, says, cancelling my campaign in solidarity with martyrs of Lebanon and Gaza, especially Hassan Nasrallah. We stand with the people of Palestine and Lebanon in this hour of immense grief and exemplary resistance, unquote. Aga Sayyid Muntazir, another PDP leader, someone who is close to Mehbooba Mufti, said, quote, being an interfaith dialogue activist, I have learned how we brought harmony between Muslims and Christians of Lebanon. I pay tribute to martyr Sayyid Nasrallah and his life of values, unquote. Now, there are some fundamental problems with this sympathy spree. First things first, these voices of support for Nasrallah egregiously normalize anti-Semitic hate. I'm going to take you through the hard facts because on this show, viewers, there is no rhetoric. You can go and watch other channels for that rhetoric. I will give you the hard facts so you get closer to the argument. Remember that, viewers. And this is about empowering you with more knowledge. My first hard fact, viewers. Day after the Hamas massacre on October 7th, Hezbollah began unprovoked attacks against Israel, which forced more than 60,000 Israelis on the northern border to leave their homes, becoming refugees in their own land. The question is, viewers, doesn't this constitute an act of terror? There's another hard fact. Hezbollah has refused to implement UN Security Council Resolution 1701, passed 18 years ago, which requires it to move its forces away from Israel's border. In fact, if anything, Hezbollah has built tunnels to get into Israel. The question is, isn't it clear that its cause is to annihilate the state of Israel? Here's another hard fact, viewers. Hezbollah chief Nasrallah, in his own words, quote, Jews are the source of all corruption and deception, unquote. The Holocaust is a myth, unquote. Viewers, given its genocidal mindset, what would Hezbollah do if they got clear 15-minute window to enter Israel? Just think about that, viewers, on the back of these statements. And I refuse to believe that there are Muslims or there are members of parliament in my country, viewers, in our country, viewers, that can actually endorse Nasrallah's anti-Semitism. Do Muslims in this country hate Jews? Surely not, viewers. Surely not. So I cannot understand why they think this Nasrallah character is some great martyr. Martyr for what? For butchery? For butchery, viewers? And it isn't just as anti-Semitism, but Nasrallah was also an Islamophobe. Yes, viewers, he hated fellow Muslims. In fact, Nasrallah has killed more Muslims than he's killed Jews, 1,000 times more. Again, viewers, hard facts. Never speak without the context of hard facts, viewers. Hezbollah under Nasrallah has killed several thousand Sunnis, Druze and Christians during the Lebanese civil war. And we just had a PDP leader saying, oh, he was building bridges between Christians and Muslims. Viewers, that's the fact. Hard fact 2. Hezbollah under Nasrallah killed fellow Shia Amal group that led to the butchery of thousands of co-religionists. He was killing his own Shias. Here's another hard fact. Hezbollah is responsible for slaughter of Sunnis in Iraq by militarizing Shia groups. Hard fact 4. Hezbollah considers Kurds in Aleppo, which is in Syria, terrorists, and has routinely attacked them, viewers. In short, as you can see, Hezbollah was not just anti-Semitic but Islamophobic too. How then could Indian Muslims, the third largest grouping of Muslims in this world, think he speaks for them? Do Indian Muslims have no problems with a genocidal maniac who kills Shias at the drop of a hat? And also Sunnis more than Shias, viewers. Surely they do, viewers. I don't believe it. As already pointed out, some MPs have called upon Indian Muslims to adopt Nasrallah's cause, quote unquote, not my words, Aga Rahula's words. He says all Indians have an obligation, especially Muslims, to join Nasrallah's cause. Now what is this cause, viewers? Let's ask ourselves. The cause, viewers, in his words, quote, we see Kashmir issue as part of the global struggle against oppression, unquote. In 2019, he said, we stand in solidarity with the oppressed people of Kashmir, unquote. Oppressed was the words he used. 2019, Kashmir and Palestine are two occupied territories, unquote. In 2020, the Kashmiri people have the right to resist occupation, unquote. These hard facts prompt some questions. Can any Indian member of parliament who takes oath on the Indian constitution ever endorse Nasrallah's anti-India line? And if they do, then why are they not quitting? Why are they living off the Indian taxpayer, of you and I? And if by now a section of Indian Muslims and their political benefactors don't get it, then viewers, it would have to be because, as Dr. B.R. Ambedkar put it, their loyalties to India are questionable. And let me put forth what B.R. Ambedkar had said. And viewers, some of you might find this harsh, but these are his words, not mine. He says, quote, the brotherhood of Islam is not the universal brotherhood of man. It is brotherhood of Muslims for Muslims only. There is a fraternity, but its benefits is confined to those within that corporation. The allegiance of a Muslim does not rest on his domicile in the country which is his, but on the faith to which he belongs. In other words, Islam can never allow a true Muslim to adopt India as his motherland and regard a Hindu as his kith and kin, unquote. I just hope, viewers, that Indian Muslims don't fall for this propaganda and they don't end up proving someone like Dr. B.R. Ambedkar right, viewers. And therefore, I want to ask, why is this homophobic, anti-Semitic and Islamophobic man a martyr for Indian Muslims? Let's open this up, viewers. We have a lot to talk about. Kamru Chaudhary is joining us, Dr. Anand Ranganathan. We have Major Arya with us also, and Monojit Mondol, political analyst. Let me first begin with you, Kamru Chaudhary. Kamru Chaudhary, do you believe that Jews should be killed, annihilated, murdered, kicked out from the river to the sea? They should be killed like rats because there's some subhuman species that is given to lying, given to doing all sorts of other corrupt activities on this earth. And secondly, do you think Sunnis should also be killed, murdered, just because they don't agree with the Shias? And if, sir, the answer is no, then can you tell me why so many Muslims in India are today supporting this Islamophobic, Jew-hating, homophobic cleric? This coward.
Yeah, Rahul, good evening. May I ask you a simple question? Do you remember who was Justice Dalvir Bhandari? Can you just tell me, just 1 second, I will take off yours.
Sir, why don't you build your argument?
No, I'm just asking anybody from the panel.
I don't want to go into dilation. I want you to answer the fundamental question I've asked you. Why would Indian Muslims, why would Indian parliamentarians, why would they stand up for a homophobic, anti-Semitic, Islamophobe? Simple, straightforward question, sir.
Okay, permit me 2 minutes of your show time. After that, I will not be speaking also. First and foremost, I refer to Justice Dalvir Bhandari. He is an Indian representative judge in the International Court of Justice, which ruled in July 19, 2024, just stopping short of declaring Israel as a terrorist state. And it declared the illegal occupation of Palestine is an illegal occupation by the Zionist forces. That's the International Court of Justice, and India has voted in favor of that resolution. By doing a 32 billion trade with Israel, is India a party to the ongoing genocide of Palestinians in Israel? Question number one. Question number two. In 1978-1982, the Israel occupied southern Lebanon. The formation of Hezbollah was in 1982. Israel occupied Palestine, and the Hamas was born in 1987. Iraq war was not done because of the Muslim, because America wanted to find the weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. Now come to your basic question out here. Do we support the axis of resistance, as it is called, in which Ali Khamenei, Assad, Hassan Nasrallah, Fali al-Fayyad, or Abdul Malik al-Houthi, or Yahya Sinwar a part of it? No, we do not. But we sympathize, empathize with the Palestinians who have been subjected to massive...
I'm sorry. There are people... No, hang on. No, 1 second.
No,
look, I'm not getting...
know you will be agitated.
No, I'm not agitated, Kamru Chaudhary. It's very simple. Hamas has been... No, hang on, just a minute. You come from the Congress party, your Congress tradition, very quickly. I just want to make a small intervention and you can answer me this question because you haven't answered my question in the very beginning. You dilated, you went all around in some labyrinth. Sir, these tunnels are now getting exposed, by the way. Bum phat rahe unme. Don't get lost in tunnels. Answer the question, and I'm asking you simple. Hamas has been put on the war crimes list by the ICJ. Yes. Your party, the Congress party, supports the Hamas's cause, the Palestinian cause. You put the Hamas chief. You put the Hamas chief on a stage in South India. Your ally, India ally. The left put Hamas. The Hamas chief on the stage.
That's a different party.
Oh, what a different party. You're part of the India Alliance, are you not?
The left alliance out here.
You're not part of the India Alliance, sir.
I said.
Are you part of the India Alliance? Yes or no?
No.
And when Shashi Tharoor, viewers, this is the Congress party. When Shashi Tharoor objected.
You cannot bring in.
Sir, 1 second.
No, you cannot
when Shashi Tharoor objected to that man being given a stage by the Congress's closest ally in Kerala, he was told to keep quiet. I asked a question, how can Indian Muslims be supporting a homophobic, Islamophobic, anti-Semite? And I got a lecture on geopolitics, viewers. Anyhow, let's open this up. Clearly, viewers, they don't have the hard facts. No, you tell me, should he be supported, yes or no? Should he be held up as a martyr, yes or no?
I will take 20 seconds. We condemn the Hamas invasion of Israel, the attack on innocent civilians in Israel. As well, we condemn the Israeli continued genocide in southern Lebanon now and in the Palestine occupied territory. That's very simple.
Mr. Kamru Chaudhary, it's not Rahul Shivshankar. It is the National Conference, Congress's ally, that has stopped campaigning for who they call is a martyr. I'm asking you, can a homophobic, and I'm asking you very, very deliberately, can a homophobic, anti-Semite, most importantly, Islamophobe, be a martyr for Muslims in Kashmir? Yes or no, sir?
Hassan Nasrallah
and Benjamin Netanyahu are both a terrorist according
now
to me.
Viewers, I asked him a simple question.
do not-
We'll deal
I
with
do not
Netanyahu.
go to
I'm asking
Israel
you, how
or the
can a
Israeli
homophobic, Islamophobic, Jew-hating, anti-Semite be a martyr for Indian Muslims? I'm not getting an answer. I don't know,
I told
viewers.
you, he's
Maybe
a
I'm missing the point.
terrorist along with
And this
Netanyahu.
is a Congress ally that has raised him to the level of a martyr. Let me open this up. Dr. Ranganathan is here with us. Major General Arya is here with us. Monojit Mondol is also here with us, professor of renowned capacities, always comes researched. But, Doctor, first to you. What do you make of the wishy-washy response from Kamru Chaudhary and the martyrdom status that has been given to this individual, homophobic, Islamophobic, and of course, Jew-hating?
Good evening, Rahul, and good evening to my fellow panelists. Look, there are two issues here, and if I may, one needs to delve into the philosophical and psychological moorings in both. Rahul, there is a parallel world that is inhabited by hundreds of millions of Indians. This is a world where they are not bound by rules, morality, ethics, propriety, by which they want the rest of us to be bound by. Because their morality, their ethics, their conduct is not dictated by man, but by God. The only question that needs answering right now is, would the attendance at these funerals or wakes or requiem marches for the terrorist Nasrallah beat the record for terrorist Yaqub Memon's funeral or terrorist Burhan Wani's funeral? Where are all those who cry over mainstreaming of violence right now? Well, there they are, crying over a terrorist death and paying their respects. Every one of these charlatans has suddenly forgotten that Nasrallah ordered the cold-blooded murder of thousands of innocent men, women and children. But then again, these men, women and children who were murdered by Nasrallah were not innocent, because Jews have been called the worst of creatures, 98.6, 855, condemned to hellfire, 455, 98.6, called apes, 265, 7, 166, led by Satan, 460, eternally cursed, 447, transformed into apes and pigs and slaves of Tagut, 560. So for these people, paying respects to this man, calling him a martyr is not mainstreaming of violence. Of course, it's not mainstreaming of violence when in India, a political party can select as a candidate a man who offered 51 crores to anyone who beheaded Charlie Hebdo journalists, or condole the death of Wani the terrorist, or when an award can be presented to the PFI chief by a vice president, or when Yasin Malik is celebrated by a prime minister, or when thousands collect for funerals of terrorists. But these same people will call out Sadhvi Pragya's remark on Godse as mainstreaming of violence. Rahul, now quickly on the second more important issue. Let us be under no illusion. The situation is intractable. I repeat, intractable. It hasn't changed for 1,000 years. Why on earth would it change in 10? Islam transcends national boundaries. You are a Muslim over and above everything else. Rahul, we have to accept what Ambedkar said. Quote, Islam is a close corporation. The brotherhood of Islam is not the universal brotherhood of man. For those who are outside the corporation, there is nothing but contempt and enmity. The allegiance of a Muslim does not rest on his domicile in the country which is his, but on the faith to which he belongs. Islam can never allow a true Muslim to adopt India as his motherland and regard a Hindu as his kith and kin, unquote. We also have to accept what Rabindranath Tagore said.
There are plenty of martyrs.
One second, Kamru Chaudhary, let him finish. Let Dr. Ranganathan finish, please. Let him finish. Don't jump in. I'll have to lower your fader. Otherwise, please, it's not fair.
But I cannot allow the martyrdom of Muslims to be so.
No, what is the problem?
No, he cannot say the Muslims' elegance does not lie to the motherland.
Sir, it is Dr. Ambedkar he's quoting. He's quoting Dr. Ambedkar. You have a problem, take it up with Dr. Ambedkar. 1 minute, please. Let him finish. Let him finish, sir, please. Let him finish. It's a crime now to even quote Dr. Ambedkar. That's
I'll tell you, but
bizarre.
It goes worse, Rahul, because we not only have to accept Dr. Ambedkar, we have to accept Rabindranath Tagore, what he said. That quote, Islam has distinct enmity against other religions, that it is not satisfied with observing its own religion, but is determined to destroy all other religions. Will Rabindranath Tagore be condemned by this Islamist also? We also have to accept what Karl Marx said, that for Muslims, the world is divided into two nations, Darul Islam and Darul Harb. It is the duty of every Muslim to help convert Darul Harb into Darul Islam.
Ideology cannot be compared to the Islamic ideology. I take strong objection, Rahul. This is not the way. This is not the way.
You are doing such a good job running this thing. Now, this man constantly interrupts. If he has a grouse, let that grouse be with Ambedkar and Tagore. Why is he against me? Why is he so rattled? Can I please finish, Rahul, with your permission?
Yeah, please finish. I'll get him to respond right after you finish. No problem.
Thank you. Let him castigate Tagore if he has the guts. He's a Bengali, he claims so. Look, in wanting to stop Indian Muslims from thinking of Ummah first and India later, we are trying to negate history. But finally, this also needs to be said, Rahul, just 30 seconds. It is not about them. It is about us. And let me explain this. Remember how Indian Muslims united and indulged in Azad Maidan protests and riots to force India to take in Muslim Rohingyas from Myanmar? It resulted in us taking 40,000 Rohingya Muslims. Another matter, that no Indian Muslim ever marched to force Indian government to settle 7 lakh Kashmiri Hindus driven out from their homes. But it's not about them, as I say, it's about us. All Hindus remember Azad Maidan. But do we remember Khamong Sheikh? We don't. I'll tell you what Khamong Sheikh is. It is a place in Myanmar where Muslim Rohingyas murdered more than 100 Hindus and their families mercilessly, raped, pillaged, even buried some alive. Many among those Rohingya Muslims who committed that atrocity might right now be in India as refugees. But as I said, no Hindu ever came out to talk about Khamong Sheikh. All we do is get jealous of Indian Muslims uniting for Rohingya Muslims or Palestinian Muslims or Lebanese Muslims. Have Hindus marched in their thousands over the plight of Bangladeshi Hindus? Our government hasn't even made one proper rehabilitation camp. So if we are jealous of other person's unity, we are divided.
Absolutely. Look, you have a point there. You have definitely a point there. The response has been underwhelming to all these atrocities. Major Arya is there. Monojit Mondol is also there. Kamru Chaudhary wanted to come in. I'll just come back to you, Kamru Chaudhary, in just a few moments. But viewers, I just began by asking a very simple question. How is it that a person who says that Kashmir should not be a part of India, how is he getting these character certificates from Indian MPs? And Monojit Mondol, there is a TMC MP called Saket Gokhale. Saket Gokhale. I think I got his name right? Saket Gokhale is his name. He says that Nasrallah is not a terrorist. Sir, I have listed out his war crimes to you. Not even war crimes, actually his cowardly acts. I have listed his homophobic pogroms, his Islamophobic pogroms. There are people in Sicily and other countries that are actually, Syria and other countries that are actually taking out marches celebrating this man's killing because he's a terrorist in their eyes. And you have a TMC MP giving him a clean chit. How does this work? Can you explain, sir?
So I'll first respond to my good friend Dr. Ranganathan about Tagore's being misquoted. I want to know the citation from where he quoted Tagore. If he can give it to me personally as well, I'll be very happy because I think he's quoting absolutely out of context. That was not what Tagore said after the Bihar communal rights of 1916. But still, I wish this from my good friend Anand Ranganathan. Coming back to this TMC.
Yes, give the citation.
Yeah, please.
Thank you. It's from thank you, Professor Mondal. Thank you for asking that. It is from Original Works of Rabindranath Tagore, Volume 24, page 375, Vishwa Bharati, 1982. Thank you very much.
Please give me the name of the essay. This essay was written in Bengali, my dear friend. This was written in Bengali after the Bihar communal riot, when he was castigating upon both the Hindus. He was castigating upon both the Hindus and the Muslims. Right? So please do not quote him out of context. He was castigating the communal riots. Why both the Muslims and the Hindus were responsible. I gave you the context. I gave you the context. But that's not the point.
Okay, he's giving you the citation. Now we have a problem with the context and the language. Okay, very quickly, Monojit Mondol, why is the MP of the TMC giving this person who is a designated terrorist a clean chit? I want to ask you, is this right?
I am not here.
I know you're not the spokesperson of the TMC.
Right.
I'm asking you, is he right to do so?
I think, let me tell you one
Can a
thing.
member of
As
parliament
far as-
give someone like this man a clean
If he
sheet?
has said so, this is his own personal opinion. Let me tell you very frankly here, the stated position of the party that I support at times is very simple. That the government of India, when it comes to the foreign policies, we are with the government of India. We know that there are so many things which are happening in Hamas or, Israel-occupied Palestine, which are not right. But both the countries are responsible for that. Absolutely responsible for that.
I'm only
But
asking
to
you, sir,
link-
do you think that these protests upholding this man as a martyr are justified, yes or no?
I do not think this should be justified.
Oh, good.
Why should this
That's
be
it then.
justified?
That
I'm not
settles the
saying-
issue.
No,
Viewers,
let me
here
not
is
say
an...
this is
No,
not
one
just
second.
yes
An
and
India
no.
bloc sympathizer...
My point is very simple.
Yes.
To link it to all the Indian Muslims being terrorists, like the way it is being
No one is saying that, sir. We are only asking. And I am actually saying... No, now you're being mischievous. You're completely being mischievous. Viewers, what are we saying here? Okay, one second. Major Arya, let me call you in. Now, this is, this is gaslighting, viewers, and this is being done with the intention of putting Ranganathan, and I'll say it, underline it, neck on the chopping block. These people want to dog whistle so that someone will come up and say Sartan se juda, and they will poke him in the eye like they poked Salman Rushdie after 50 years. That's what they will do. Yes, doctor.
No, Rahul, I know it's coming my way. I am prepared for it, but that is the reason why I always quote Dr. Ambedkar, because that makes them like rabbits.
No, but just look at this. Just look at this, Major Arya. I've asked a very simple question. How can for any community a homophobic, anti-Semite and also Islamophobe be a martyr, a hero? I don't get it.
No, two things, Rahul. First of all, thank you very much for inviting me on your show. There are 2-3 things that I'd like to say. Number one is that this is a mindset issue, and this is 1400 years old. This whole concept of Yahud al-Nasara and all that you can never be friends with the Jews. I would like to quote Sahih al-Bukhari. Sahih al-Bukhari, 29:26, Allah's messenger said, "The hour will not be established until you fight with the Jews, and the stone behind which the Jew will be hiding will say, 'O Muslim, there is a Jew hiding behind me, so kill him.'" This is the Sahih al-Bukhari. Now, there are other things. First of all, I would like to congratulate the entire panel that, this Hezbollah chief Nasrallah is dead. I'm also happy that Qasem Soleimani is dead. Ismail Hania is dead. And I hope the supreme leader of Iran catches it very fast. These people are terrorists. Now, there are 2 things. A lot of people in India, in other countries, right, even in Pakistan, even in Bangladesh, all of them, see, there is a fraud that these people are perpetrating. It's dangerous. They're doing it in India. Whether it's Kashmir or Lucknow, it's very dangerous for civil society. Having said that, let me also say, Rahul, that this is a complete fraud. These people will do a donkey and reach London. They'll reach Canada. None of them will ever reach Gaza. You see, they'll sit in their drawing rooms. They'll come out on the street. They'll protest. This is fraud on an epic scale. The third thing is, you see, you said that how can a person who says this about Kashmir, that Kashmir should be separated from India, and it should be, and why are politicians from Kashmir supporting Hassan Nasrallah when he said that? Why are they supporting his state? Because that is exactly what they believe. They believe that Kashmir should not be. These are separatists. They are closet terrorist supporters.
And they're sitting in our parliament.
Absolutely. And my last point, Rahul, is this, that you spoke about Mehbooba Mufti. Anybody who is served in the Kashmir Valley, Jammu or Kashmir region, or anybody who's from there will bear me out when I say this. Nobody knows where the PDP starts and finishes, where the Jamaat-e-Islami starts and finishes, and where the Hizbul Mujahideen starts and finishes. There is a commonality of cadre amongst three, right? They are supporters. They are hardcore Pakistan supporters. They are radical Islamists. I'm not even saying condemn Burhan Wani. I'm not saying that. These people want Nizam-e-Mustafa. They have said it in the open. There is no point of debate. Now, Anand Ranganathan gave a factual counter, quoting exactly, chapter, verse, paragraph, page. But that is not enough, apparently.
No,
that is not enough.
I requested.
Give the book to him. Please courier a book to him. I think he'll be convinced after that, I think.
Well, it's in English. Then he'll say it's in English. It's not in Bengali. I don't read English. Monojit Mondol, I don't say that. He's going to send it to you. He'll courier it to you. Blue Dart will send it to you, sir. Okay, 1 minute.
I said him the original Bengali
Okay.
essay. Why Tagore? I tell you one thing. Tagore was castigating all the three. The Britishers.
Sir, no one
for
doubts
being
that.
silent
No one doubts that. Even Ambedkar,
and the Muslims.
even
I
Dr.
gave you
Ambedkar.
the exact context
Even
of
Dr.
that public
Ambedkar. But that doesn't take away from the fact.
Public lecture.
Okay.
This was after
But
the
if
Bihar
Dr.
communal
Ambedkar
rights of
was right.
1916. But
Okay.
he just quoted only Tagore castigating
No, it's
the
fine.
Muslims.
It's fine.
They are
It's
like
fine.
the
The point is, I'll tell you, sir, even Dr. Ambedkar had harsh words to say about Hindu caste system, etc., etc., in the
Yes.
upper caste. But
Yes.
if you can
Yes.
accept that, then we must also accept what he
Yes.
said about Muslims. We should be
There are
equally
problems.
open-minded. We
There
can't
are
say, no,
problems.
there he's right,
Of
here
course.
he's wrong.
No,
And
I'm
this
not
is
saying
hate
that.
and that
I'm
is...
not saying that.
Yeah, no, I'm glad.
There could be
I know you...
problems in a particular religious.
That's why I
belief.
said,
There
being a
can be some
professor,
differences.
you understand
But you have
nuance
to
and you
respect the
understand
difference. We
context.
have to
But
respect the difference, not by excluding them, but
no,
by
fine.
fixing in the core
Very
value
quickly,
of
Dr.
nationalism.
Ranganathan and
That's it.
Kamru Chaudhary. Yes,
And my
Dr.
problem
Ranganathan.
is that you are bracketing all the Muslims in the same line.
No one is
You have
bracketing,
so
sir.
many-
I am
so
actually
many
asking a
greats-
rhetorical question. I
greats
said,
leading
how
this
can it be?
country,
Because
including the last president
no,
of
don't
India.
start gaslighting.
No,
You
you
know
can't do
you're
that.
being
No, that's
mischievous.
what
You're
my
being
good
mischievous,
friend was
professor.
doing.
You're being mischievous. Okay, very quickly. Yes, Dr. Ranganathan.
No,
Yes,
it-
and Kamru Chaudhary. Yeah.
There is a reason why my good friend Professor Mondal and I really enjoy these debates, because he elevates you to accept a challenge and then rebut it. So let me ask him something and then gently ask him whether it is out of context or in context. What is the price or punishment for apostasy in Islam? It is death. And what is the punishment for apostasy in Hinduism? It is Bharat Ratna. Dr. Ambedkar said, I was born a Hindu, but I will not die a Hindu. He converted. And how did Indians quote unquote punish him? They rewarded him with India's greatest honor.
Yeah.
That is the difference, Professor Mandal. Now rebut it with context or out of context.
No, that's absolutely.
I think
No, there's
we've been
no.
talking about what was happening.
Okay, one second. Let me bring in Kamru Chaudhary. Kamru Chaudhary, make your point.
This country has moved on.
Okay. Everything has moved on except for caste politics in this country. That remains ossified. वो वापस ही आता रहता है. Okay, very quickly. Kamru Chaudhary. Yes.
Yeah, basically I took strong objection to Anandji's when he said that Indian Muslims owe their allegiance to the religion than to the mother.
Yes.
That was the point that I objected to him.
No, but he's not saying that. He's talking.
said
That's the
that.
quote. The allegiance of a Muslim does not rest on
But
his
he
domicile
forgets-
in the country
he
which is
forgets,
his, but
because
on the
the
faith
biggest
to which he
problem-
belongs.
coming
This
to
is
that,
Dr.
Rahul,
Ambedkar.
coming to that.
Yeah.
Coming
you
to
for
that, he
thinking that I am
conveniently
Dr.
forgets
Ambedkar.
what Swami Vivekananda said about the
here he
Hindu
goes.
soul and the Muslim body.
Doesn't deny
Come on.
Ambedkar.
Now come to the
all of
basic
that is
point of
fine.
debate
All of
tonight.
that is fine. But I am only saying that I hope that he is proven wrong, because I asked you a simple opening question. I still haven't got that response. We have talked about Dr. Ambedkar and the
Answer
context
lies
in
in
which
the
he was
political
speaking.
Islam.
Tagore and the context.
Answer lies
We've talked
in
about
political
the Holy
Islam.
Book. We have talked
the
about.
solution to the Palestinian problem.
I only
The
asked you,
political
do you
Islam,
think,
which
I'm
are-
again going to ask you, very quickly because I have to move on. I have to ask you, just give me a yes or no answer, sir. Kamru Chaudhary, do you think this man deserves to be a martyr in any community?
The entire leaders I named from Khamenei, Assad, Nasrallah, Fayyad, Al-Malik Houthi and Yahya Sinwar do not deserve to be representative of the political Muslim world.
There you go.
That's a
Political
simple
Muslim
solution.
world, but spiritual Muslim world is fine. Okay.
No,
That's
I
bizarre.
cannot be. I cannot be. I cannot
so,
be
so
influenced
viewers,
by leaders
so,
like
here,
this.
so viewers, finally at the end of the debate, at the nth moment, Kamru Chaudhary says it's wrong to elevate this man as a martyr. Therefore, Major Arya has given you the reason why he is being elevated as a martyr. So viewers, QED, now we realize that a massive fraud is being played on innocent Indian Muslims watching all these pictures and the rhetoric. Don't fall for it, friends. Don't fall for it. We are not like that. None of us. None of us are like that. No Indian can ever hold up this man as a martyr. And those who are doing so, viewers, are clearly, in Dr. Ambedkar's word, putting something above their patriotism. I leave it to you, viewers, to ruminate on what that could be. Now, I want to move on. because irony has just died 1,000 deaths. While addressing a meet call to respect constitutionalism, a Samajwadi Party MLA proceeded to butcher the spirit and letter of the venerated book. The MLA called Mehboob Ali twirled his moustache, stood behind the lectern and menacingly raised his voice to warn Yogi Adityanath that the Muslim population in the country is rising and that they will force, that is the Muslims who are growing in numbers, will force regime change and end his rule in Uttar Pradesh. This is what he said, quote unquote, your rule will come to an end. The population of Muslims is increasing. We will come to power. The Mughals ruled for 850 years and those who are burning the country must note that the people have woken up. They gave a reply in Parliament, and in the coming days in 2027 you will surely go and we will come, unquote. Listen.
अब तुम्हारा राज खत्म हो जाएगा, आबादी बढ़ रही है मुसलमानों की इतनी, और आगे सत्ता में आ जाएंगे। ये काम तो मुगलों के बस की नहीं जो 850 साल हुकूमत कर गए, उनकी हैसियत कुछ नहीं हुई। आज गुमराह करके देश को चलाने वाले ये एहसास कर ले कि हिंदुस्तान का आवाज जाग चुका है, पार्लियामेंट ने भी जवाब दिया है, और आने वाले वक्त में इंतजार कर ले 2027 के अंदर आप जाएंगे जरूर, और इंशाअल्लाह हम आएंगे जरूर।
Viewers, this statement is disturbing because it weaponizes demography. Might isn't right, and neither does it give anyone special rights. If leaders of the saffron fold were to begin exhorting Hindus, who are in a majority, to take back what is theirs just because they are in greater numbers, the consequences would be unimaginable. And expectedly, just about every ecosystem pseudo-secularists would accuse the BJP of communal hate and xenophobia, and it has happened in the past, when certain objectionable remarks have been made, exhorting Hindus to take up violence, etc., by sometimes saffron leaders. Is it Mehboob Ali's case that Muslims are living in amity with Hindus only because they are in a minority? Is he saying that the moment Muslims become the majority, they would rule India to the detriment of Hindu community interests? Is that what he's trying to say, viewers? And is the Samajwadi Party going to put up with it? Is the India alliance that sort of talks about Muhabbat ki Rajniti and Dukan and this, that, the other allow for this? And where is the Supreme Court, viewers? Let's open this up. Dr. Ranganathan is here with us. We also have Sanju Verma, national spokesperson of the BJP. So I want to ask you, Kamru Sahab, again I'm starting with you. What kind of statement is this? You had condemned, I remember on this show, Yogi Adityanath for using 80-20 analogy. This is the same.
No,
and Rahul Gandhi is silent, Congress party is silent, you are silent. Have you tweeted, sir?
No, I just happened to get the news in your show when your guest relation executive called me up. So it's hardly inconsequential what he's given.
That was at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, sir. Since then you have not tweeted. It's 6 hours.
The point here, Rahul, is that do we condemn it? Yes, of course we condemn it.
Okay.
This such type of
Who is condemning it?
I'm telling you, on your national, you're one of the most widely publicized news debates in the country right now. And through your channel, the statement made by this SP MLA complements the BJP style of politics only. So it needs to be condemned, because as I condemn the BJP, whose chief minister, sitting chief minister says we do not need Muslim votes, when the sitting chief minister of another state says the Shamshan Kabristan politics or the kapड़ों से पहचानो, the prime minister of the country says, और जब मुल्ले काटे जाएंगे तो राम राम चिल्लाएंगे, or the statements made by that fraud Baba Samgiri or this Nilesh Rane of Maharashtra, these are all things to be condemned in India. We do not have a place of such comments out here.
Okay.
Hindus and Muslims both have made India proud, and we continue to make it proud. But the basic question, Rahul, out here is
but I only hear silence. Rahul Gandhi has tweeted about 2 times today, 0 on this. SP Chief Akhilesh Yadav, I don't know where he is. At least Kamru Chaudhary has had the gumption to come out and say this is wrong. But viewers, where is the India alliance? मोहब्बत की राजनीति वाले, where are they?
Rahul, one
Yes.
very important question I wanted to put out here tonight.
Yeah.
The hate begets hate. You know that.
Okay, hate begets hate. Okay, so let me put that to Sanju Verma.
The political
He says what goes
isolation.
around comes around. You spew hate, you'll get it back in equal measure. Dr. Ranganathan, I can already see you sharpening your knife. So I'll come to you last. Yeah.
You know, Rahul, first and foremost, many congratulations for the 9 p.m. slot. And now coming to the moot point of the debate, let's be very clear. You know, the Congress panelist who was speaking a minute back, he has a very convenient memory. And I would like to fact check the entire Congress cabal. Forget about the Samajwadi Party. There is this entire ecosystem, be it the Samajwadi Party, the Congress, the Trinamool Congress, you know, they will never speak about a couple of things. A, land jihad. Section 4 of the Waqf Act of 1995, which says, what is mine, but what is yours is also mine. Food jihad, halal, which is today a $2 trillion industry globally and at least a $500 billion industry in India. They will not talk about thuk jihad, spitting into the food of Hindus with brazen impunity. They will not talk about vote jihad. In the run-up to Lok Sabha 2024 elections, Salman Khurshid, a senior Congress leader, his niece clearly spoke about the fact that Muslims need to vote for Muslims, nahi to hamara to khatma ho jayega. This is the same radicalized Islamist bigoted lot which will not talk about land jihad. And most importantly, I think food jihad, thuk jihad, love jihad, forcible conversion of Hindu girls, be it in Kerala, Kashmir, West Bengal, what have you. The most important of all this is land jihad, and I'll tell you why. And I'm reminded of Himanta Biswa Sarma's comments as recently as in July 2024, wherein he said that by virtue of, you know, becoming the majority in a couple of districts, then in a region, then in an area, then in a given state, you know, that is how Ghazwa-e-Hind or Nawab-e-Mustafa or celebrating global Ummah is what the radicalized Islamist religion is all about. He said that every 10 years in Assam, the Hindu population on an average has grown at 15%. But on an average in Assam, every 10 years, the Muslim population has grown at 30% or even at 34%. And very quickly, in 10 seconds, I'll give you the statistics. In 1991, the overall Muslim population in Assam was just 63 lakhs, in 2001, 82 lakhs, in 2011, 1.06 crore, and in 2021, the Muslim population is 40% of the total population of Assam and stands at 1.42 crores. And, you know, Assam is not an isolated case. That is what I keep saying.
Okay,
by virtue
so the
of
point
land
is
jihad,
what?
the point is simply this, that we want to wrest control of the demography of a region, and after we are sufficient in terms of numbers, then we will impose our culture, we will impose our religious mindset, we will impose our cultural,
So suppression, not integration.
ideology.
Suppression, not integration.